As one, Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, checking in for a daily Move Swiftly thought, giving you a perspective on teamwork you will not get anywhere else. That was one of one. Had to adjust the route a little bit because the goal going in was doing 10 miles. And then as I was going across the one of the routes I do, the train came, so I had to take a little detour and then end up, ultimately I did end up doing my 5 miles, but in fact, I ended up crossing over 2 bridges, so I actually got a better workout, it's a better turnout than what I initially planned it would be. And man, oh man, if you haven't listened to that Tupac Dear Mama remix with Anthony Hamilton, we know the original Dear Mama by Tupac, you tune into that, but if you get that remix with Anthony Hamilton, my goodness, that thing is going hard, especially when you in your runner's high and you in your zone and you thinking about all the great mamas. Just absolutely was hitting. It was hitting at the right time, for all my runners out there. When you get that song that's hitting right at that runner's high and you can't stop listening, just going repeat. That's what happened today. So again, song of the Dear Mama remix, the remix, not the original version. The original version is hot too, but the remix with Anthony Hamilton, where he put some of that Anthony Hamilton gloss to it. They got a nice little beat to it, and he's making that hook absolutely sticky to the point. Dear Mama, psh, don't you know I love hits, absolutely hits. All right, so as far as today's Move Swiftly thought, we're gonna keep it right there. We're gonna keep it right there in terms of, so just to give you some context, let me just break it down. Let me break the whole thing down, the whole sports cycle. For those of you who don't really regularly tune into sports, understand I'm recording this. It's the last week in March. So we have March Madness. We have the college basketball national championship. Then once that dies down, we have the NFL draft. And then once that dies down, we have the NBA playoffs. And by the time the NBA playoffs is over, there we go. Football season is back. So that's kind of the cycle in which things move in the sports-minded world. All right. So recording this, like I said, last week in March, and once this weekend and next weekend happens, college basketball will die down, and then everyone's going to be talking about the NFL draft. And here's my experience as a Washington Redskins, like a diehard Washington Redskins fan. Notice I'm not saying the Washington Commanders, I'm saying the Washington Redskins. That is the team that I am a diehard fan of. I grew up right there in the DMV, absolutely loving that team beyond belief, to the point where I would cry. I would literally be in tears as a kid when they would lose. All right, so I have had to really transition that psychotic fan in me. I've had to transition that to my Michigan Wolverines in the college football world, because the Washington Redskins decided to go and change their name. And well, actually before they decided to change their name, they completely ruined the whole experience for me when the whole thing with RG3 went down. All right, so RG3, Robert Griffin III, again, nothing against him as a player, nothing against him as a human being. Absolutely love him. In fact, he is what inspired today's Move Swiftly thought, because of the little online beef or the online back and forth that him and Stephen A. Smith got into, which I'm going to get to in a second. But it was, seeing how that whole situation played out. They trade their entire franchise. They go draft him second overall, not even first. They go ahead, draft him second. They see the guy limping on the field, and then he still ends up playing. Nobody's adult enough to say, look, let the guy sit out, all that kind of stuff. So all that drama with RG3 and the Washington Redskins, you can go look it up yourself, is what made me say, you know what, fuck it. Fuck this guy. I can't fucking take it. It was a very, very unhealthy relationship with that team. All right, so again, obviously still going to root for them. Still was very excited to see them go to the NFC Championship and, the Commanders and all that, but still, it's not the same as seeing that those Redskins, boy. Listen, again, that's where my heart is. That's where my heart is, truly. All right, truly where my heart is. All right, so anyway, like I mentioned, him and Stephen A. Smith got into some little online disagreement. And so basically what happened is RG3, I guess, apparently he put out some tweet about how sports shows don't need to be talking politics. And he was referencing some Jackie Robinson stuff. And then Stephen A. Smith thought he was talking about him. And then he went off about it on his show. Went off about it, like absolutely got really personal with some of the things he was saying about RG3. And just yesterday, Stephen A. Smith showed up on RG3's podcast, and they spent I think it was like a whole 45 minutes to an hour talking out the situation. And the three things that came up that really, really started hitting a chord with me was the connection between sports, politics, and race. All right, you're listening to someone who has lived all three of them, and how all three of them do play a role in each of everybody's situation. And let me just break down all three. When you're talking about politics, you're talking about people who are using connections to gain some sort of advantage for themselves, to put themselves in a more advantageous situation. We're talking about race, you don't have any control over it, so there's a political agenda when people use race to, get their own agendas, to pursue their own agendas and get themselves into an advantageous situation. And then when you're talking about sports, it's an ultimate meritocracy. You have to actually perform and be good enough to be relevant in the sports world. So that's why you're always going to see the tie between both of them, is when you're talking about sports, you actually are evaluating if somebody is good enough to do a certain thing. And I'm not talking about good enough on the field, talking about mindset, talking about how they show up, talking about, what they're able to do. You're training the mind to actually develop a system where you are saying, is this person actually good enough to do whatever it is I'm trying to get them to do? Then the race plays a factor, and then the politics play a factor. And that's the reason I'm bringing all this up, is because I loved the way RG3 approached the situation. I love the fact that he had him on the show. He had the whole dialogue. He put all of his, I'm telling you right now, RG3, if you ever get a chance to listen to this, you got a new subscriber. The name of his show is called Out of the Pocket, and I literally subscribe. Now, I don't normally, subscribe to these guys because I have my own stuff that I put out regularly. But when it comes to, when I hear certain things and how certain things trigger me, understand I was involved in all three, and I have the name As One. And the reason my parents named me As One is because it means black, and it's Arabic for black. So I've heard all of this, and it was touching on certain things. And I implore you guys to really discover these things, because whether you like it or not, you're going to be swiped up, and you're going to have to deal with one of the probably all of the three at some point in your life, and you have to know how to handle it and how to put yourself in more of an advantageous situation, utilizing the things that are going to naturally move society forward. All right, so again, I just wanted to make sure I spent a whole Move Swiftly thought addressing that, because man, that interview, and again, go listen to it yourself. It's RG3 Out of the Pocket when he had Stephen A. Smith on, and there was a point at the end of the video where RG3 came on and he said, his wife has been getting death threats and all that kind of stuff. And, that's just stuff we got to stop doing that. We just got to stop doing that. You got to more so take RG3's example and his lead and say, hey, look, if you got something with someone, you got something to say with someone, if you can bring them on your show, bring them on your platform, talk it out, address the situation head on, be direct when you address the situation, and then move forward in a positive way. But, getting to the point where you're getting death threats and all these stupid ass online trolls that are big tough guys behind a computer screen and all that bullshit, we got to stop all that. So all that being said, main website to dive deeper into all of my work, it's makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYamove.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As One, Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker. Checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.